You may have gathered from the accent that I'm kind of not from around here. But I spent a lot of my childhood visiting this area and moved down here 40 years ago. And one of the memories I have from my childhood visits was going with my dad, catching a bus from the Plough Inn at Pontmerfraith and coming to this bridge I'm standing on right here. And I looked up into the sky behind me, and there I saw this iron giant stretching seemingly to the clouds, and I could hear echoes of clangs and clanks ringing across the valley. Because this is Crumlin, and what I was witnessing in my youth was the demolition of Crumlin Viaduct. Crumlin Viaduct is very famous. It was built not for status but for function. It had a job, it needed to get over this valley. But it's legendary because it was such an iconic structure. And normally when I make these videos, I am scrabbling for images. I just cannot find them anywhere. I'm going to libraries, I'm emailing people going, please may I use? And in this case, I have. But I've also been able to use these because these are my dad's images. It was a very, very well photographed structure. And as a result of that, been able to do a lot with it. It was the highest viaduct in the UK. It was 200 feet, that's 61 meters high, and it was the highest working viaduct during its lifetime. And crossing it was an experience which people still talk about today. I've had messages when I've talked about Havedrunnes and Massey Cumma, where people have said, oh yes, I used to live in Havedrunnes and I used to go to school in Crumlin, and I used to go across the viaduct every day. I'll never forget it. Now, if you watched my video on the Massey Cumma Hengoed Viaduct, you will remember a railway company called the Newport, Abergavenny and Hereford Railway. The aim was to link as many of the valley lines in a kind of cross-valley line of their own. The reason simple, they wanted to get coal out of the Welsh valleys and up to the Midlands. And it's that same line that went between Pontypool and Havedrunnes. And it crossed over this viaduct here, and then went on and crossed over Hengoed Massey Cumma Viaduct and ended up originally at Quakers Yard. Now, the engineer for both was the same, Thomas Kennard, and I'd love to show you a picture of Thomas, but all his images have been snapped up by stock libraries who want a couple of £100 for his mugshot, so you just have to imagine it or look him up yourself. And he surveyed both valleys. He looked at this one and he looked at the Hengoed Massey Cumma Viaduct. And he decided that one was shallow enough to have a stone var, but this one, the edges are quite steep. If you look up there where it came from, you can see it is quite a steep drop down to it. And as a result of that, he said, no, this one is going to have to be metal and it's going to have piers. So what I'm going to do is take a wander and have a look at what's left of it. I've been told you can see some of the abutments still in place, though the actual metal has long gone. And on the way, I'm going to tell a few stories about how it was built, why it was built, and some of the characters that were involved in the opening tale. The viaduct actually spanned two valleys. On the left, the Kendon Valley, with 2 piers, and on the right is the Crumlin Valley, with 6 piers. And effectively made use of the local ironworks up in Llanavon to make the wrought iron. But the iron castings, he made in Falkirk. Why? Because he owned the ironworks in Falkirk. He shipped them down to Newport. They got transferred onto a barge and came up on the Crumlin arm of the Brecon and Monmouthshire Canal. The canal actually ended, well, where those houses are over there, with a nice little sitting area in front of them. Once they arrived, they went into what was known as the Crumlin Viaduct Works, and that was set up in order to do all the necessary construction. It was like, as I said, a giant Meccano set. Despite the fact the ironwork's gone, the parapets are still visible. So I'm going to look first of all at the one that was on the west side of the Kendon Valley. Most photographs of the viaduct show the main Crumlin spans and the Crumlin Valley, but this one does clearly show the Kendon side and the east parapet, which is right in the centre of the photograph. I don't normally fill schools, but it's the school holidays. But if you notice, this is called Crumlin High Level Primary School. And there is the viaduct on there. They have apparently on occasions been asked, did they want to change the name? And they've said, no, we want to commemorate our heritage. Good on them. And the reason for it being called Crumlin High Level is this is where roughly Crumlin High Level Station would have been. Possibly a bit further along, but this is along here, would have been the track bed before it disappeared off and over that first parapet. Oh, another hill. I understand fully now why they built the structure they did. There is nothing shallow about any of these hills. Oh my goodness. Right, let's tell you the story about Jack. In May 1897, tests were made to see if the viaduct was safe. They effectively said, right, we are going to put 6 locomotives lined up with 680 tons of lead and pig iron, and that is going to be driven slowly, really slowly, across the viaduct, and we're going to measure the deflection. It's what you would do. The train was put in the hands of John Thomas Jenkins. Perhaps they should have looked at his nickname before they did that, because he was known in Pontypool Shed, from where he came from, as Mad Jack. And the rumour has it, the story has it, that Jack visited every pub in Crumlin, and this is just one of the many that were there at the time, and had a drink before he got on the footplate. And rather than taking the train slowly, he went for it, full throttle, right over the viaduct. He was quite naturally hauled up on the coals for it. When he was asked, he said, well, when eternity looks you straight in the face, you may as well go full speed to meet it. He had absolutely no trust in this viaduct whatsoever, but it only deflected 1.5 inches. And that was enough for the inspectors to say, yes, you can go ahead and open it. And by the way, Jack continued driving and retired at the age of 65. The viaduct opened on the 1st of June 1857, a big official opening by Lady Isabella Fitzmaurice, and the first train crossed the bridge. But having gone through the Bryn Tunnel, it could only go so far because they hadn't actually finished building Hengoed Viaduct at that time. This is alongside the pub I just filmed when I talked about Mad Jack, and it looks very much like these are some of the piers. Looks a bit overgrown, but this is where the viaduct would have gone over in order to cross over Kendon Valley. Caerphilly Council, this could do with a mow, just saying. Up we go. We should look out. Knowing my luck over a pile of trees, but yeah, there we go. Over the edge and into oblivion. So the final opening stats were quite impressive. 200 feet high, that's 61 meters. 1,600 feet across, 500 meters, and 10 trusses in length. It remained the highest railway viaduct in Great Britain from the time it opened to the time it closed. And there's very few that have surpassed it. The east parapet of the Kendon Valley is still in existence. You can see it quite clearly in this photograph of the side of the hill, and again here on the left hand side of this photo. So I'm going to have a wander, see what I can find. Going to head up towards the Kendon abutment and see what I can find. I've been told I need to head up. This is a wheel from Navigation Colliery, which was a massive colliery just down the road here. I'll look at that another time because the ruins are there to be seen. But for now, I've got to go up here. And I think you all know the story about Bourbon Hills. Nothing ventured. I've had a climb up that hill, which has now killed me. And what's interesting is I can't find any remains of this Kendon pier, which is supposed to be here. But what you can see, this is the valley we're talking about. And what we're looking at is, if I manage to zoom this, is just there. That bush, green thing, and just behind it is the ruins of the other parapet which I'm going to go wander over and see in a bit. But you can see the steepness of the valley and how high it is. And what's also interesting is you can just about make out along a kind of track going down. That was one of the railways that was built to connect to what is the railway in the bottom of the valley. We'll look at that a little bit closer when we get over the other side. But for now, I'm going to go and see if I can get down this hill without killing myself. So I'm walking down this hill, haven't gone, can't find it, and I come across it, Viaduct Cottage. And I don't want to pry. In their back garden is a massive great big lump of masonry. You can't see it because of the trees. I wonder if there's a way in that I have missed to get in there and see it. But that would be very possibly the Kendon side of the viaduct. Yeah, it's all very built up and I'm heading downhill. So, oh, for crying out loud. If it had been any closer, it would have bit me. Look at this. Up here. There it is. There's the amount of touch so you can see it. There you go. Kendon part of the viaduct. I'm not going up any further than this, but gosh, there it is. So this would have gone from over here where we saw before back over to here and then continued over this ridge onto that other lump we saw there and over the valley to the other portal. Right, time to go down the hill, get something to drink. Needed that. I think I was concentrating so much on the hill that I just missed it. Look at it, it's just massive. And all the way around from here, all the way around here. And of course this would have had the metal structure on the top of it. And when they took it down, they will probably just drop some of it down here. But it is quite a significant ruin sitting up there. Oh, Crumlin, you never cease to amaze me. The eastmost side of the viaduct is a small village called Suffolk, and most of the iconic images of the viaduct show this side of the valley, and in some cases the parapet, which is still here, and I'm going to go and try and find. You get a much better sense of just how steep and how deep this valley is when you get over this side. Down there, the ruins of Navigation Colliery. And the viaduct would have come across here, and if you can see down there, zooming, you can see the bridge in which I'm standing, mosaics behind it. See rubbish in these places, but a nice bit of rail, quite old I would say. It's like more like a tram rail than a running rail. Wander along this path. This is going down, which I don't like because that means I've got to go back up again, but that's fine. You can see how much further down we are because navigation is a lot clearer than it was. Trains still run up here, by the way. This is the Upper Vale branch, and the Stalker pudding station back in Crumlin. There isn't one. There's one at Newbridge a bit further down, but not Crumlin. Believe it or not, up behind these trees is what we are looking for. Ah, there it is. You can see some stonework just up through. No, you can't because the blackberries have got the trees have got in the way. Trust me, there is something there, and I'm hoping when we get around the corner, be able to see it a bit more clearly. Oh yes, here we go. The eastern portal of Crumlin Viaduct. This would have been the track bed down towards the viaduct, but there's a load of bushes at the end and it's nigh impossible to get through without a machete. I think what I should have done is climbed up the side of the parapet down there. But this would have been the route. It would have come up here, and then when it hit here, it would have hit a junction. And ignoring that, because that's a modern path that goes down, it would have come this way and headed out towards Havertrunness and Pontypool. And in this direction, it would have gone down down, 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 right down to Llanhilleth, Aberbeek, and met it down the bottom. Apparently used for coal trains and one workman's train a day to get people to Havertranas Colliery, and that was it. Over the years it proved difficult to operate, and in 1947 British Rail single-tracked it. So why did it close? Well, in 1964 basically it fell foul of the beaching cuts, and this one was beaching. This wasn't it was beaching, but it wasn't. No, this was a beaching one. The saga continued. It didn't want to come down, it is fair to say, and it took 3 different construction companies or demolition companies to get it down. And in the end it was Birds of Risca, also well known for cutting up London Underground trains, and they basically managed to get a plan to demolish it. These images from the National Museum of Wales show some of the piers going down, and birds are commemorated because alongside this mosaic in the town centre of the picture of the viaduct being open, there are birds demolishing it. Could it have been preserved? Argue amongst yourselves down below. But the reality is, you're talking about a Victorian wrought iron, very, very tall structure, which quite frankly, in my opinion, I think would have just been that little bit too much. And I will mention Arabesque. After it closed, there was some scenes shot in a film that starred Gregory Peck that were filmed on Crumlin Viaduct, and it's one of its claims to fame. I know that Bentley Viaduct has grabbed the title of the Iron Giant, and why not? It's a fantastic structure. But for 5-6-year-old boys standing on this bridge in Crumlin, staring at this metal thing that just seemed to disappear and go up forever, I'm afraid Crumlin Viaduct will always be my Iron Giant. I'll be back out again filming soon, so please like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, and until next time.